Diddy's trial was another reminder that women are being failed by the system. It needs to stop. The jury decided that Diddy was guilty on 2 counts of transportation for prostitution, but not guilty on the RICO charges and the 2 counts of sex trafficking. This was a big loss, and I will be explaining why. Everyone in my personal life knows I followed this trial day by day. I followed it so closely like a hawk. Shout out to Inner City Press on Twitter and also Law and Crime Network on YouTube. I was using them as well to follow the trial. I was very disappointed for Cassie. I also do empathize with all the other witness testimonies that were given, but obviously we all saw that infamous clip of Cassie being beaten in the hotel, which triggered the feds. Little disclaimer, it's come to my attention when editing this video I mentioned the feds. I want to clarify that I am referring to the federal attorneys from the Southern District of New York. They were representing the government in this trial. Use Cassie as their #1 star witness in this case. Hip hop is having its own Me Too movement. We know about the Me Too movement in Hollywood from Kevin Spacey, that other guy, the big guy, I'm so sorry I can't remember his name. He's in the acting world. I'll put it here somewhere. Hip hop has a fundamental history with misogyny, especially towards Black women. It clearly still has its problems with holding its figureheads accountable. I did see that some people were apparently throwing baby oil outside of court on the day of the verdict. I thought that was very distasteful and immature at best. Rich and powerful people have been getting away with heinous crimes for forever. This is not new. Some of them get away with murder. O.J. Simpson, anybody? O.J. Simpson. But this is unique in the sense that obviously we had so many witnesses come to the stand to explain that Diddy had been violent towards them, physically and sexually. A lot of those victims who came out to speak were women. In regards to the trial, I think the feds did a good job. I think they presented their case quite well. I think the only place that they kind of fell down was Jane's testimony. Now, Jane was an anonymous name given to her at her request. I can't reveal who that is. Although people have strong speculations, you can do your own research in your own time. Now, her testimony, I could see that she clearly was a victim in many ways, but I do also think her testimony was a little bit shaky at times. I can see why some people felt her testimony wasn't strong enough to provide the necessary armor that the feds needed to solidify their case on the RICO charges. I think a lot of that comes down to what the perfect victim looks like, because even before Cassie's testimony and before the video of her in the hotel getting beat by Diddy came out, the people had a lot to say, saying that she's a gold digger. Obviously, she settled her case in a civil lawsuit for a good amount of money, and I don't blame her because, as you can see, the jury decided that she was not a victim of sex trafficking. Diddy's crimes were not big enough to constitute a RICO, even though during her time of trying to get out of abuse, you hear about how people involved in the organization, like a Miss Coram, I think that's how she says it now, I don't even care. She doesn't deserve the respect, even for me to say her name correctly. She would obviously call Cassie to tell her to come back. And once again, I believe this jury came to this conclusion, majority of them were male on the jury and a bit older. They came to this conclusion because there is a fundamental misunderstanding of what coercion, sex trafficking is. What a victim looks like. Someone like Jane, like I said, I can't reveal her identity, but through speculation, she's an IG model, and people just instantly just see that, oh no, she's just trying to get money. And I believe as well, people understand that victims can have very complicated stories. There may be a few dodgy decisions a victim makes, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they are still victims at the end of the day. Diddy in this case was a figurehead, a mogul in the industry, very powerful, very rich, compared to the women he essentially coerced to be his sex slaves, but pretended that they were girlfriends, in my opinion, from the evidence, from what I've seen on the case. And I've tried to be as unbiased as possible. Obviously, I'm so sorry, I can't only be as unbiased as I can be when someone is literally an abuser. We've seen the CCTV footage. There's only so much I can be unbiased about. I still think the feds did a decent job, as much people saying they didn't. And people simply don't believe women. And this is what the focus of this video is about. I am not going to go into the systemic issues and how they need to be solved or why they happen, why this is happening. This video is simply a plea to men, women alike to please believe women and their stories. Now, I'm gonna come with some stats related to the UK. The Rape Crisis Organization said that 1 in 4 women have been and essayed after the age of 16. 25% women. What's even worse than that is that fewer than 3 in 100 recorded by police in 2024 resulted in someone being charged. So what does that tell you? Why are women going to come forward, risk re-traumatizing themselves and not being believed, and their accuser is still walking about free? What is the point? How is that justice? A lot of women would prefer to keep it by themselves and hold in that experience and not go through the hassle and potential threat to their physical safety if the person that they're accusing is not found guilty. Especially, like, for example, in this trial, Cassie's case, Diddy is a powerful person. He can make people disappear. We saw the way he blew up Kid Cudi's car. I'm sure he can do a lot worse. So we really need to understand the dynamics of why people are victims in the first place, why they stay. Because a lot of people will say, why do people stay? I don't get it. A lot of people, they're trauma bonded. Please read up on what that means. And a lot of people, it can even be something financial, especially if you're in a country where women do not have an education. They don't have the ability to go and get a job. They can't just leave. All the money that they get, it comes from a husband. It makes things really, really difficult. Social stigma is also a big one, especially, places that are very religious. Obviously, I'm Nigerian. If I talk about Nigerian society back home, a woman may leave their husband who beats them, and people will still blame the woman and be like, what did you do wrong? Why did you upset him? Can you not try to maybe appease him? Maybe cook him a nice meal? Maybe he won't beat you. What? Excuse me? When you don't have the systems in place to even hold these men accountable for abuse, like somewhere like Nigeria, you have very little options unless you have your own ability to escape. Even in Cassie's case, power dynamics are big. You have the financial aspect. Cassie was 19 when she first started dating Diddy, who at the time would have been like in his mid-40s, I believe. And she is still obviously starting her career. She hasn't got a lot of money comparative to him. You can already see the power dynamic is completely imbalanced. This guy has more money, he's richer, more famous, has more assets, has brand deals, all these things that can allure someone so naive and young in the industry and not knowing where to go. And you do see how this dynamic can go on for so long. She was with that man for 10 years of her life, her whole 20s. And we can see she tried to escape, and there was so many issues involved in doing that. We see that in normal relationships, day to day in our normal life, how hard it is for people to escape. Never mind when there's such big imbalances in power dynamics. It makes the situation a lot more dangerous and difficult for someone to leave. Men's violence against women is a leading cause of premature death in women globally. Take that in. Another stat, in the UK, since 2009, 1 woman has been killed every 3 days. And 90% of the killers were family, partners, or someone known to the victim. Just horrible statistic. When you are dating, especially as a woman, a heterosexual woman, you are most likely to be murdered by your partner. The relationships women get involved with is really a matter of life and death. There's also a lot of other socio-economic factors that make some women more at risk of being victims of male violence. And we see all these stories, even like recently, we have the Michael Ward situation that came out, which was horrid. He's been charged with 2 counts of assault and the R word. And people were saying things like, oh, he needs to settle down. That's why we need sexual discipline. And once again, it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of why men do this. A lot of people are going to say, listen, there's male victims too. Yes, they are. Even in the stats I found, 1 in 18 men have also been after the age of 16. I know that's a problem, and you can make a video about it if you want. But this video is for women because we are disproportionately affected by male violence. We are the main victims of this violence. We are mainly victims due to patriarchy. I will reiterate, I will not be delving into that in this conversation. I want to also highlight a very interesting Netflix documentary that came out a few years ago. It's called Victim/Suspect. I'll put it here. And it was basically about women who've come forward to the police about their experience with being assaulted, essentially. See the interrogation, a lot of women were basically intimidated into taking their stories back or getting confused, feeling shamed, and like they were the suspects. And I think it really highlighted a big systemic issue in society, generally speaking. Please watch it. It's such a good documentary that kind of explains the issues that I'm talking about in this video. But I will not be addressing the systemic issues because my main cry of this video for both women and men, because women can also be enablers of the patriarchy, and internalized misogyny can live wild in your heart as a woman. Please, 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 when a woman comes forward with her experience, tells you that she has been harmed, I don't want to hear, oh, there's false accusations. The percentage is so small. I have not even bothered to mention that as a part of this video, apart from now. You can look into how many people are even prosecuted for assault, the R word. So please, I do not want any derailing of this conversation, because right now it's not about that. I want us to believe people. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, and it also takes a lot of willingness to deal with criticism, to deal with people not believing you, to deal with the police not believing you. These are the people that you're going to want to put the person who hurt you in jail. It is a lot. And we're not there yet. People are still hiding. People are still ashamed to talk about their experience. I want people who are victims to know, please don't be ashamed for whatever's happened to you. I want people who can and who are brave enough and in the space to do that mentally, to come out, talk about their experiences. We need these people in jail. We need to shame them. We need to put pressure on our systems to take women's violence seriously. I am tired of women dying every day at the hand of their partner, women coming out being spiked. I'm seeing it all over TikTok. It's just getting to a point where I can't keep quiet anymore regarding this topic. And Diddy's trial really, it made me sad. Like, it really, really made me sad, because it just emphasized this point that people celebrate and women are not believed. And I hope obviously the victims, the people who spoke in that trial, get the help and support that they need, because I can imagine it's very, especially like Cassie, like she's just given birth. It's a very vulnerable time. You don't need the world trying to tell you that, yeah, your experience wasn't that big. We didn't think it was enough evidence to believe that you were coerced and all these things. Granted, the feds posed this case, but people have had to be vulnerable enough to tell their stories, to even present that as evidence. And like I said before, I hope they have the support needed, because even there's a threat, especially with a powerful person, of your physical safety. And I hope these people are also kept safe as well. But regardless, the point I'm trying to make, the point I keep trying to hone in on during this video is believe women. Your first retort shouldn't be she's a gold digger, she's looking for clout. What clout could you possibly get from being a victim of violence? Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this video. Believe women.